Hi, let's talk about how to create your content and how do you get all of your content written for your website, for your blog. These are just tips for how to be efficient with writing content. The first thing is to understand that this is a website, it is not a face tattoo. And I say that because sometimes you agonize over what to write and you tell yourself this big old story that it's got to be super hard and it's got to be super perfect and it's going to take you a really long time to do it. You guys, you can crank out content for a website in a short period of time, and you need to. Do not get lost in this area. It is time consuming to build a website, but you make it sometimes too time consuming. So here's the way that I map out content for websites. The first thing that I do is I simply make a list of what are all of the pages that I need to have. So maybe I want an about me. Maybe I want a coaching page, talks about my coaching services. Maybe I want a blog. Maybe I want a speaking page, media page, radio show page. These are all the pages I have on my website. I don't even remember what else I have. Events. So now I know these are the core topics that I'm going to have. And now I simply have to go in and I have to write out each one. What I do, and I'm going to give you some strategies that you can use to become a more efficient writer and to write faster. You are not writing, this is important to understand, you are not writing War and Peace here. You're writing website content. Okay, that's really important to understand because sometimes it's just about efficient writing. This is not your novel of your life. This is not creative writing 101. You're not writing a book. You're writing website content. So it's all about being an efficient writer. So once I know all of the pages that I have to do, then I can simply schedule out time and writing blocks when I can crank out pages. It took me to write all of the content that's currently on Amy Walker Consulting, minus the blog, okay, minus the blog. It took me about 5 to 6 hours to write all of that content, and I did it over the course of about 3 days. So I'm just telling you, you can move quickly, you can create content quickly, and nothing on there is set in stone. Again, it's not a face tattoo, right? I mean, this is like, you want to make a change, you go in there, you make a change. It's not hard to do. So let me give you some tips for how to be more efficient with your writing. So first thing is figure out what you need to write, then block out your time chunks. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to get faster at writing. We really do need to be faster. So the first thing that I do, and let me tell you, I read this, and I don't even know where it was, but when I was writing my book, I read a blog post on how to write faster because I had 1 week to write my book. I wrote my book in about 5 days. 1 week to write my book, and I knew I had to be as efficient as possible. So I found this blog post. So this is based on a blog post that I can't find again, and also based on just some tips that I have. So number one thing is I do a mind map of every page. And the mind map is just simply where I put ideas together. So I'll do a picture, and it will look something like this. Like, let's say I'm writing the About Me page. Well, I'm going to just start putting in what are all the things I want here. I want people to get a feel for my personality. I want to talk about business accomplishments. Can't type. I want to express faith and family. I want it to be feel fun. And I always write on every page, I write, what do I want them to do? So after they read this page, what do I want them to do? What's the call to action? What am I hoping will happen? And so I simply do a mind map. I take a piece of paper and I just write with pen and paper, and I draw, dots of words, and I draw lines connecting them together. But I get my thoughts on paper so that I know where I'm going. Writing is 10 times faster if you know where you're going and what all the pieces are that are going to go into it. So that's the first thing that I do. The second thing that I do is I write down my start and end time. So that way I can track how many words per hour I'm writing. And the reason this is important is because you actually have times a day when you're more productive in writing and you have an ideal amount of time to write. So the first hour that you write is actually going to be your slowest hour, and the next slowest hour is the last hour that you write. So I wrote the best in 4-hour blocks when I was doing my book. I would be a little slower the first hour. Hour 2 and 3 were awesome, and then hour 4 would start to taper off again. And when I started to see it taper off, I was like, it's time for a break. And 4 was my average. Sometimes I could do 6-hour blocks, but as soon as it started to taper, like that, words per hour started to slow down, I knew it was time to go and take a break. So instead of writing in a place where your mind is not working really well, it allows you to be able to write during times where you're super productive. Okay, third thing for being an efficient writer, I want you to no corrections while you write. The first draft is brain dump. Like, you are putting it onto paper. So you don't do any corrections. You don't stop and go back. You don't stop and clarify. You are just simply putting brain dump onto paper. Now, in the beginning, you'll have more editing to do, but what will happen is as you get better at writing and more efficient at creating content, you're actually going to start, like, your brain will start writing better and filtering out ahead of time, and you have less mistakes and things that you need to correct. So no corrections while you write. Fourth thing is don't write about anything boring. If you're writing a page and it's boring to you, I promise you it's boring to other people. So you write about things that are fun. Make it engaging, make it fun, make it topics that you're interested in. And don't write about things that you're not passionate about. If you are working on a page and you're like, I am not feeling this, then stop. Ask yourself, what would it take for me to be really feeling this page? How can I be passionate about what I'm writing here? And shift gears. Even if it seems like something you should do, you cannot be bored about what you are writing. Okay, the fifth tip that I have for you with being a more efficient writer is no internet, TV, phone, or anything that pings you. Nothing else. You close down everything. You turn off your cell phone, you turn off your Wi-Fi, you turn off everything so you can just simply sit there and write. Okay, sixth thing, this probably should have been up sooner. In fact, yeah, it should have been. After the mind map, I'll write it in. Do your research. So ask yourself, okay, what do I need to know in order to be able to write this? Like, there were parts in the book that I needed to research as I was going through. And so before I started writing, I did the research, because if you're in the middle of writing and you realize, I don't really know this as well as I should, then you're going to go get online to do the research. Then all of the distractions come back in. So the research happens before you actually sit down to write. And my last tip is celebrate each page completion. It's important to celebrate. When you're being an efficient writer, you're going to be cranking it out, and you really do need to make sure that you take time, you celebrate, and you just do a good job with it. So here's your tips on how to be a more efficient writer. You guys, it should not take you weeks and weeks to write out your content. Really, if you're doing that, there's something that's off track. And you're welcome to get on Q&A call and we can talk about it. We can help you brainstorm, come up with ideas, but you have got to just sit down and write. And I know not all of you are talented writers. For some of you, that is not your thing. I also know that it's going to be the same story whether or not you take a week writing it or 5 months writing it. You're still not going to love the writing process. So pull off the Band-Aid really fast instead of like one little hair at a time. Just rip it off. We got to get this done. This is important. I don't want you wasting time in this area. This is my #1 concern with people in websites, is they go into this hibernation of, oh, I'm building the website, building the website. You guys, life doesn't stop while you build a website. You got to keep working. You got to keep moving forward. So pretty please get it done as efficiently as possible. Okay, those are your tips for writing out your content. And again, this applies for your static content, which is the stuff that's going to stay there all of the time. It also applies for your content that's moving, like your blog, your videos, the things that are new that are coming through. Just be an efficient writer. Okay, that's it for this video. Thanks.